What's going on, everybody? This is Eric, and this is going off of my last video, the color tab overview. I kind of did a brief overview of it and showed a little bit of how to correct your images and what scopes mean and what nodes mean. But this video, I'm doing a different thing. I'm gonna take you guys along with me and show you my learning process. I'm actually a beginner for anybody who's new to Davinci Resolve. I absolutely am in love with this program. I think it's amazing, but I'm right now in the learning process. I've only been using it for about 3 months, but I'm using it every day to create YouTube videos. And right now I'm playing around with the color tab, and I'm just trying to mess around with this video I downloaded. It's just a clip of a flower blooming, and I thought it was cool because it's got a lot of bright colors. But to start this video off, this is going to be about understanding color. And I kind of had a little bit of organization setting this up. So for this video, understanding color, our goal for obviously understanding color in Davinci Resolve is we want to make our image look better. And it's called color correction and color grading. But this is confusing to me when I didn't know at first what these were. When I heard of them, I'm like, okay, are these the same thing? Are they different? So what I'm going to do is I've looked up a lot of videos up here on YouTube, as you can see. I'm going to go through a few videos and let other people talk about it and credit them on their videos, and so you guys can go back there afterwards. But this is like all the research I've been doing for the past 3 days, and I've put together some videos that I think are helpful. And this is how I learn. I go to YouTube, I read a lot, I go to forums and stuff. So I'm going to talk about color correction right now and color grading. So color correction would be the first step in making our image look better. So what color correction is, from my understanding, is making your footage look natural. So that's the beginning step. You're shooting with all different types of cameras. I shoot on my phone, so I mean, I don't have anything big and expensive. I'm a complete noob at all this stuff. So I mean, I would love like a Canon 5D or whatever, the higher end cameras are, the DSLRs. But right now I just have my smartphone, and that's enough for me for my vlogs and stuff on my other channel. But I want to do some color correction and grading. So the first step, color correction, making it look natural. And that's it. Just correcting the imperfections of the image. If it's flat or if it's washed out, if it's dark, you're just making it look in the most realistic, normal state. And then step number 2 would be color grading. What grading is, from my understanding, is giving your image or video a look and a feel. So grading is after it looks normal, you want it to tell a story and give it a feeling. If it's a happy video, you want it to be warm and bright and just kind of tell a happy story with a happy feeling and a happy look. If it is a dark themed, kind of sad, depressing movie where there's a lot of killing and murders, it's probably going to be a lot darker, a lot more dark colors, a lot more, shadows and kind of gloom and doom look. And that's what color grading is. It gives it a feel and it tells a story. So now I'm going to go on to the videos of what defines color, and I'm going to let some of these YouTube people talk about it because they can do a way better job than me. And this is how I've been learning. So I'm just going to let this play for a little bit.
Now, before we jump in and start grading this thing, let's discuss basic terminology for how we define color. The 3 basic terms we use to define color are hue, saturation, and luma. Hue is the name we call colors, saturation is the intensity or vividness of a hue, and luma is the brightness or shade of hue. It's also important to know how to read the video scopes, which can be super beneficial. We'll bring up the scopes by right-clicking on the viewer and selecting Show Scopes. The 2 scopes I always use are the waveform in color overlay mode and the vector scope with the flesh line turned on. The waveform lets us correct for exposure, and with the color overlay mode turned on, unchecking the Y, it allows us to correct for white balance issues when the color channels line up evenly. If I overlay an image on top of the waveform, you can see that the trace, the stuff you see here, actually corresponds with the image of the guy walking when I play this back. The vector scope corresponds directly with the color wheel, and I've overlaid it here for convenience. It shows us what colors are in the image as well as their saturation. The further the trace extends from the center of the scope, the more saturated or vivid the colors are.
Okay, so this video, like I said, I'm going to give credit where credit's due. Color Grading Central, Davinci Resolve 15 tutorial, color grading crash course. And I hope I don't get in trouble for recording their videos for some reason. I don't really know the ins and outs of that, but if anybody wants to let me know in the comments, please do. I'm just trying to help out, so whatever. If I get in trouble, I hope that somebody calls me out. So let's go over here. Understanding color, almost 2 million views. Blender Guru. This is going to talk about what color is and what defines color as well. So let's watch this for a minute.
Understanding color. By the end of this video, you'll discover how to use colors effectively to alter the story or to create pleasing color schemes. So I'm going to break it down into 3 core concepts, starting with why color is so important, then saturation and value, and finally color harmonies. So starting with the why. Colors, when used correctly, can guide the viewer's eyes to what's important. Like in this scene, your eyes are immediately drawn to this nice green cylinder in the center of the screen. It can also be used to tell the story or completely change the mood of the scene entirely. However, when used incorrectly, like in my terrible scene here from 2007, it can make the viewer feel lost, nauseous, or even irritated. Basically, colors can make or break your scene. Very, very important to get it nailed down. Even worse, in terms of photorealism, color is one of the biggest giveaways that your image is fake. If you don't believe me, take out your latest work, convert it to grayscale, and notice how it immediately looks a lot more photorealistic. Getting colors right is just hard. Throughout the day, our eyes soak in millions of hues, saturations, and shades, but we rarely ever stop to study them. So, when it comes time to actually work, we have a hard time drawing from our memory what color is used for. One could argue that it goes back to our childhood. As kid, we learned about colors in their most simplified raw formats: red, blue, yellow, etc. But when we tried using these raw colors in our art, we probably quickly noticed that the results came out really ugly. But why is that? Saturation and value, that's why. Saturation is the intensity or purity of the color, and it's one of the biggest culprits when it comes to ugly color work. The second is value, which refers to the brightness or the darkness of the color. So, let's have a look at these. On the left here, 100% saturation, really hard to look at. But tone it down to 20% and it becomes almost a pink fleshy color. Again, I haven't adjusted the color at all, but just changing the saturation gives you very different results. Let's try it again with value. 100% on the left, 20% on the right. You can almost barely see it. So that's adjusting the brightness of the color basically. So you can see that it now looks more like a muddy brown than a red. Now, if you had to tweak both of these, the saturation and the value, you can see that you can create a whole plethora of different shades. All from just one raw color at the start, as is demonstrated in this painting. I'm fairly certain that the only color used in this painting is red, so just mixing it with white and black.
Alright, if you guys want to watch that video, it's Understanding Color, but he breaks down everything about color, and obviously, as you can see, it is a very valuable video as it almost has 2 million views. So moving on to the next thing, I just want to see if I'm still recording. Yep. Okay, sorry about that. What colors go well together? Well, actually, in this video, he talks about, let me see where it is. Color harmonies. Let's see.
blinding you there. So, I love this topic. Color harmonies basically pertains to the fact that some colors look better together than others. It's also known as color schemes or complementary harmonies. You know, it has a number of different words. So what I'm going to be talking about is 6 popular and common color harmonies that work well. They're based on concrete ideas and you can start using them in your work straight away. So,
Okay, so if you guys want to watch that video and learn what colors go well together, he does a very good job of explaining it, but obviously this video is 23 minutes long. I'm not going to record everything and talk about it, but I've been watching this video over and over and trying to learn what colors go together, so I'll link the video in the description. I just want to move along real quick because this is going to be a long video as it is. So the proper steps to start color correcting as a beginner in Davinci Resolve. How do you start and where to begin? So I believe this video said it already. Okay, so that's the proper workflow or steps to start your color correction, and color correcting is the first step you want to do with your image. So let's go to Davinci Resolve and correct the exposure. Okay, so back in Davinci Resolve, we're going to try to correct the exposure. So let's go to the color wheels. Let's try to get the effect. No, I want the waveform.
The two scopes I always use are the waveform in color overlay mode and the vector scope with the flesh line turned on. So how we'll correct the shot is we'll adjust the shadows first with the lift control while watching the waveform. We want to bring the trace and the shadows down until the darkest parts of the image sit right above 0. Then we'll bring up the highlights so the brightest parts of the trace sits right about here near the top. Then we'll bring the midtones down by pulling down on the gamma slider. This gives us good contrast and exposure.
Well, no, his looks different than that, so I'm going to do it like this. So let's bring, he said bring this up. Bring up the highlights, which is the gain. Alright, right near the top. Sweet. As we can see our image right here. It's looking a little bit better. Good contrast and exposure. So that's the first step. Let's see. Pulling that back down. Okay, I mean, damn. That looks pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, that's pretty good. Okay, so that's the first step in color correction, fixing the exposure, which that worked very well. Let's see how he does that.
Our goal is to neutralize or white balance the whites, so the way to do that is to first find something in the image that is white. In this case, we can use the gal's white shirt and its corresponding trace in the waveform. Our goal is to get the color channels to align evenly, and when they do, the trace will turn white, indicating that we've achieved white balance. A quick and easy way to do this is with the white balance eyedropper found under the lift wheel. Keep an eye over on the trace as I click on the white shirt. And voila! The trace for the highlights is now white, indicating we've achieved white balance.
Alright, let's try that. I don't really see a white spot. I think here it is. I don't know if I want to do this, but I'm going to click right there. I don't know. That might look good. I don't know. I'm not a professional, so whatever. I'm a beginner. Whatever. I don't know. It looks good to me, so we'll keep going.
And just in case you're not happy with the results, or if you think the whites look too sterile or clinical, we can manually adjust this using the temperature and tint sliders found under the number 2. Lastly, let's boost the color a little bit by increasing the saturation. Here's what the clip looked like before and after the correction. Doesn't that look awesome?
All right, let's do that. Let's add some saturation. Let's go down here. Ooh wee. All right. Now we can adjust the temperature. Ooh. Ooh. All right. I kind of liked it before. Well, yeah, to reset it, just double click this. I'll just keep it right there. Saturation. Is that too much? Oh, that's not good. Okay. We'll keep it right. Oh, that looks really oversaturated. I like it right there. Whatever. We're beginners. Cool. So that is the very simple workflow for starting your color correction. So fixing your exposure, fixing your white balance, and then saturation. And that's it. So let's keep going on this. What are nodes and how are they used? I'm going to show a video about that real quick. Let me find it. And we'll watch this guy. This guy's really good.
This is a node. A node is a container of color effects. Currently I have one node with no grading applied to it. This node will remember all the effects and controls we apply down here. So for example, I'll change something in the color wheels. I'll increase saturation and make the image orange. And I'll switch to curves and change curves a bit. Now all the changes we made down here and here were saved to this node. And this includes every single effect down here in every single window. Let's add a new node. I'll go to Color, Nodes, and I'll select Add Serial Node. The standard node is called the serial node. I'll simply click on Add Serial Node, and now I have a new node. Let's understand how the image flows. I'll drag these two nodes to the right to make things a bit more clear. This point here represents the original image before applying any effects to it. And this point represents the final output of our color grading. So whatever reaches this point is the final image displayed on the monitor. The effects from the first node will be applied to our original image first, before the effects from the second node will be applied to the output of the first node. And then the second node will send the result to the output to be displayed on the monitor. So if I select this node by clicking on it, an orange border appears around it, which means that now this node is being selected. Now whatever I do here will be applied to the second node because it's the one being selected now. So while this node is selected, I'll go to saturation and reduce saturation all the way. You'll notice that the final image that is actually coming to the output and being displayed on the monitor is black and white. That's because we removed all the colors in the second node. So for example, I'll add a new node. I'll go to Color, Nodes, and add a serial node. And in the new node, I'll add more contrast. And maybe I'll change the offset a bit. So the first node applied certain effects. The second node took the output from the first node and applied new effects on the output coming from the first node. And the third node added extra effects on top of it. Using nodes has many benefits. This is only the most obvious one. If I needed to reset the effects on a certain node, I can simply right-click on the node and select Reset Node Grade. And this will reset all the effects on this particular node. And if I needed to reset everything to the initial setup, I can simply go to Color, Reset, and select all grades and nodes. And we're back to the initial setup.
Okay, so that's a basic overview on nodes. This guy is really good. Beeping Sing or whatever. He started his own channel, I guess, but I actually commented, this is awesome. I asked if I could share it, but I actually am sharing it. So, yeah, nodes are pretty cool. They're very overwhelming looking, but yeah. So that's going to be the end for this video because it's getting pretty long. So I'm going to start off with these questions and finish up this part of the video in another video because this is going to be a long video. I said video about 20 times right there, but I hope you guys are doing good. Let me know what you think about it in the comments. Hit that like button if you liked it. Let me know if you didn't like it in the comments. I will see you on the next one.